Sunday's loss to the Commanders wasn't just a defeat, it was a humiliation. In fact, it might stand as the lowest point of the Raiders' season so far. Raider Nation has been here before, but this one stung differently. Fans didn't hold back. Social media was flooded with frustration. The season is over. Gino Smith is trash. Ashton Genty is a bust. The anger was raw, the disappointment heavy, and the hopelessness loud. But in moments like these, it's important to step back and ask how much of this outrage is rooted in truth, and how much is simply the sting of watching the same nightmare unfold once again. Because here's the reality check. It's only week 3. 14 games still remain. The AFC West is wide open. The Chiefs are struggling, the Broncos are stumbling, and only the Chargers have momentum. In other words, the season isn't gonna not yet. But the loss to Washington wasn't just a game. It was an exposure, a spotlight cast on all of the Raiders' glaring flaws at once. And unless the team takes drastic action, this will become the turning point that defined a collapse rather than a correction. The Commanders didn't just beat the Raiders, they dismantled them. The offensive line was porous, surrendering 5 sacks and an almost unbelievable 24 pressures. 24 no. Quarterback in the NFL can operate under that kind of collapse. And Gino Smith was running for his life on nearly every drop back. The running game? Completely suffocated. Ashton Genty's stat line, 17 carries for 63 yards, may look like progress on paper. But anyone who watched the game saw the truth. Those yards were earned through sheer survival. With defenders meeting him head-on at the line of scrimmage, special teams added their own disaster reel. Washington piled up 245 return yards, capped by a 90-yard punt return touchdown that buried any momentum before the Raiders could even think about finding it. On defense, it was just as ugly. Over 200 rushing yards allowed, including a 60-yard touchdown where 3 defenders whiffed on tackles like they were trying out for a blooper reel. Marcus Mariota barely had to sweat, going down only once all game. This wasn't a bad night. This was a meltdown across all 3 phases of football. So, is the season over? Emotionally, many fans think so. This franchise has toyed with hope before, only to burn its supporters in the most dramatic fashion possible. At 1-2 after such a humiliating outing, the "here we go again" chants are echoing. But this isn't the end yet. There is time to course correct. But only if the staff admits their mistakes and fixes what's broken. That's the real battle, not just between players and opponents, but between a coaching staff's ego and their ability to adapt. That frustration boiled over hardest at Gino Smith, who was immediately labeled trash after the game. Let's be honest, Gino didn't light the field on fire. A lot of his stats came when the outcome was already sealed. But even so, the numbers don't lie. 19 completions on 29 attempts, 289 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Compare that to his disastrous 3-pick performance against the Chargers just a week earlier. You see a quarterback who actually improved. He showed progress in reading defenses, cut down the turnovers, and still delivered touchdowns even as the walls caved in around him. The truth: Gino is not the problem. He's not elite, but he's not the reason this team is collapsing. Even the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history think Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl against Tampa Bay look human when their offensive line completely collapses. Gino is no Mahomes, but the principle is the same. A quarterback can't operate if he doesn't have time to breathe. Calling him trash ignores the bigger issue. It's being set up to fail by the men in front of him. Then there's Ashton Genty. The word bust has been tossed around like confetti. But let's slow down. Yes, his stat line is underwhelming. Yes, Raider Nation expected more from the 6th overall pick. But context matters. Nearly every carry has been behind an offensive line that allows defenders to penetrate the backfield instantly. Yet when Jeanty does find space, his efficiency ranks among the league's best. His explosiveness is there. His vision is there. The problem isn't his talent, it's the system around him. Labeling him a bust is not only premature, it's flat out unfair. This kid isn't failing, he's surviving. And with actual blocking, he could thrive. But here's where the microscope zooms out: coaching. The Raiders staff is not just failing to fix problems, they're creating new ones. Brennan Carroll's baffling decision to move Jackson Powers-Johnson out of center, where he thrived last year, to guard has crippled the line. With JPJ at center in 2023, the Raiders ranked 7th in pass protection and 16th in run blocking. This year, bottom 5? Pete Carroll's defense of the decision that it was about continuity and giving Alex Kappa another shot doesn't hold water. Continuity means nothing if you're consistently bad. The mismanagement doesn't end there. Tyree Wilson is stuck at defensive end when his natural skill set screams defensive tackle. Isaiah Polamo is being asked to play free safety, despite being built for the box, leading to coverage breakdowns that fans can spot a mile away. Malcolm Kuntz is being thrown into early downs when his role should be limited to pass rushing situations. These aren't just growing pains. These are coaches forcing players into roles that don't fit, ignoring the evidence, and refusing to adjust. That's not development. That's stubbornness. And it's dangerous. The fixes, however, are not rocket science. Slide JPJ back to center immediately. Put Jordan Meredith back at guard. Shuffle Kappa to the left side if needed. And figure out how to get Dylan Parham back into rhythm. Protect Geno, open lanes for Jeanty, and suddenly this offense looks functional again. On defense, give Wilson more snaps inside. Limit Kuntz to obvious pass downs, and stop setting up Polamo to fail in coverage. These changes aren't just suggestions, they're survival tactics. The good news? These are all fixable problems. The bad news? They require the coaching staff to admit they were wrong. That's the hardest step. Pride and ego are powerful forces in the NFL. And sometimes they destroy a season faster than any opponent can, and so the Bears game looms large. This isn't just about avoiding a 1-2-3 record. It's about proving to the locker room, to the fan base, and maybe even to themselves that this coaching staff can adapt. The AFC West is still within reach. The season can still be salvaged. But not if the Raiders keep playing stubborn. Not if they let ego outweigh common sense. Sunday's loss wasn't the end of the Raiders' season. It was a warning. A flashing red light that says, change. Or watch everything crumble. Raider Nation has been through too many false dawns to stomach another wasted year. Now, the question is simple. Will the Raiders swallow their pride, make the tough changes, and fight their way back? Or will they keep digging themselves deeper into a hole they won't climb out of? What do you think, Raider Nation? Is the season already lost? Or can this team still turn it around? Is Geno the answer with a little protection? Or should the Raiders already be looking at other options? And what about Ashton Genty, future star or wasted pick? Drop your thoughts below, and let's get the conversation going. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button, share it with your fellow fans, and subscribe to the channel. Let's push to 5,000 before Week 10. Raider Nation, it's on you.